community can't chart a path forward without taking a look backward and understanding the history. And that is why I decided it was important to have this series of presentations in order to bring us all into the same fold, if you will, in terms of where we come from in this neighborhood. So that said,
everywhere we go, people wanna know.
People wanna know
Who we are,
who we are,
where we're going,
where you're going,
what we're up to.
what we're up to.
So we tell them,
So we tell them
we are Fulton,
we are Fulton,
mighty, mighty Fulton,
mighty, mighty Fulton,
historic Fulton,
historic Fulton,
birthplace of Richmond,
birthplace of Richmond.
Chief Beverly Connolly, yo show. Thank y'all.
that was James Chambers.
Good morning, everybody. That was James Chambers. So we're here. Basically, what we're going to talk about and what you see visually is the men and women of Fulton who served our nation honorably. But we also, that the key points are going to be on Vice Admiral Samuel Gravely, who served for 38 years. At the same time, I want you to understand about the annihilation of our community. It wasn't always a black community. It considered of Irish people before us and other people, Italians, Jewish people, but we came in. And what you need to understand, like when the Richmond newsleader talk about squalor, the worst community in Richmond, or ghetto. And I want you to understand that 1.5 million African Americans, including my father, Mr. Highsmith, served in World War II, and statutorily they were given benefits to buy homes, to go to the VA and get educational benefits, but they were denied those benefits because of basically racism. And then you want to call people living in squalor conditions or whatever. You give one segment of the population homes, you give them education, and you give them medical care. The other men that serve, you give them absolutely nothing. And so their families are left wandering in the wilderness. So what we're not gonna just focus on that, but I need to understand so many things that happen to a community such as ours, all across this nation. We're used as a stepping stone in society, and that's just wrong. Anytime you had the Bona soldiers in World War I, and they were supposed to be given benefits, and they weren't given benefits. And then when they marched on Washington, they called out the army against unarmed men who had served the nation. You can't have it both ways. Either this is America, this is a democracy, or it isn't. And I can tell you from my vantage point, that's me up there. I served in Vietnam. I served honorably, but it took them 50 years to give me both of my Vietnam service medals and 2 Bronze Stars. I have the paperwork in my case. If you're wondering what happened to my leg, it's a result of Agent Orange from Vietnam. But I was denied benefits for 50 years. And so it goes on and on and on. And am I glad to be in America? And I've been to other countries. There's no other place I'd rather be. But don't tell me that I have to be thankful and that I have to be grateful. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be an American. But here we are in 2024, and we are still talking about voting rights for Americans. That is a sad state of affairs in this country, and it is a black mark on this nation, and it's a stain. And you just can't have things both ways. Either we are citizens or either we're not. So with that, I give you James Chambliss.
Voila. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sort of the segue from what Mr. Conley was saying. Oh, the land of the free and home of bigotry. That's the fact. I'm a service member myself, and first and foremost, again, I'll back up, alibi. All veterans, please stand. I want to personally thank you on behalf of Historic Fulton, the Historic Fulton Memorial Park Committee. Thank you for your service and thank you for allowing us to serve you. So saying that, I'm sort of loosey-goosey. I go by a script. I just been fussed at this morning, said follow the script, follow the script, follow the script. I'm gonna do the best I can. But as Keith was saying, this lineage of bigotry and discrimination goes all the way back to the founding of this nation. It's just a fact. Now, I'm proud to be an American. If not, I wouldn't have worn a uniform for 20 years plus. So it's the best place I know. As a matter of fact, I love this quote. And if any of you want to purchase one, did you see the coaster when they came?
No, don't.
I have a coaster here somewhere amongst my podium from Sam Gravely. We were selling posters as fundraisers for the Historic Fulton Memorial Park Committee. And it says on there, paraphrasing, America's not perfect, not by a long shot. But according to this great man, it's the greatest place he knows. And I can echo that. I feel the exact same way. If you go through the annals of time, back to the Revolution, things that are told to us via history books, YouTube, TikTok, whatever social media platform you may have, you're gonna only get maybe a quarter of what the truth is. And I tell you one big example of that is Afghanistan. How many years were we in that war?
Long time.
20 years.
Longest war ever. That's not true. We were in Afghanistan for 20 years. 20 years, long time. But we fought the American Indians in the Indian Wars for 63 years. No comparison. So again, you really have to be keen to what you watch, what you absorb, and what you take as being true. Here is a plate. I'm a collector of items. United States Army, not leaving out the Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whoever the case may be. But we were involved. When I said we, African American soldiers and sailors and Marines and Coast Guardsmen and Merchant Marines as well in the Navy, Revolutionary War, Spanish American War, War of 1812, World War I, World War II, Mexican War, Indian Wars, Korea, Civil War, Vietnam, Bosnia-Herzegovina, the Croats in the Croat War, Somalia, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Afghanistan, OEF, OIF, and I can go on and on and on. In every one of those campaigns, we were there. We led the way. Back to the Civil War, for instance, United States Color Troops, okay? Going on, the Army Reorganization Act, 24th and 25th Infantry. Anybody know who they are? 24th, 25th Infantry, ring a bell? You ever heard of these guys called the Buffalo Soldiers?
Oh, yeah.
That's who they are. That's that unit against the nation. They are the ones that actually settled the West. And they were black soldiers. Of course, why buffalo? Because of that hair texture. And the Indians said, they look like buffaloes. They got woolly hair, bushy hair, whatever we call them the buffalo soldiers. They went out west. They opened up the western frontier for the rest of this country. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people like to make it up as if the Native American Indians and the indigenous personnel of this nation and the African Americans had a cozy relationship. Not true. Sometimes, yes. But when you talk about settling the western frontier, we did the dirty work. We helped usher in the Indians off their native lands onto a reservation. That's dirty laundry, maybe, but it's the truth. 10th Cavalry, excuse me, I got it out of it. The 10th Cavalry, they were the Buffalo Soldiers. The 24th and 25th Infantry, that is when you were speaking of the bonus war. They were actually World War I veterans came back, and they were promised a stipend, a bonus. At the end of almost at the end of World War II, they were supposed to get a bonus check from the government, roughly ranging between $625 and $1,000. The Great Depression hit. It did not happen. So they formed a group called the Bonus Expeditionary Force, and they marched on Washington, D.C. Now this is amazing, because some of these people I highly respected until I did this research. They marched on Washington, D.C., all across the nation. I think it was a total of something like 25 or 40K veterans. Well, things got out of hand. And in doing so, the president, which was Hoover at the time, decided to activate the United States Army against World War I veterans. And so he called out the big guns. Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, Mack, General MacArthur, and at that time, Patton was a major. They marched on these veterans that had served in World War I, and all they wanted was that just due for the benefits that had been promised to them by this country, both black and white. And they actually killed the veterans. They actually brought in tanks, cavalry, and infantry. And they marched on their own troops just because they were asking for what was their just due. That particular act ushered in the era of the GI Bill. And I can take a break here, and if you would like to pick up from that, and I'll come back to the GI Bill, but I want to express to you again today, just like Keith was saying, it's a dichotomy. It was the best thing that happened for many Americans. Most of those Americans were Caucasians. It was just the opposite story for African Americans. Again, we did not get what we were supposed to get. We did not get our just due. We were discriminated against as far as housing, redlining, education. Ooh, that is a whopper. We had the benefit statutorily given to us by the United States government to be able to matriculate at any institution of higher learning that we chose. But we could not, because the certifying officials, which I used to be one of at VCU, the certifying officials across this nation denied us the right to use our education benefits. What they did instead was steer us towards the trades, which I have nothing against the trade. I love plumbers, electricians, carpenters, HVAC people. I'm one of those. But at the time, the push was for degree programs. So they wouldn't let us into their schools to pursue those degrees, so they funneled us to HBCUs. What that did was the HBCUs were already underfunded and not equipped to be able to handle the magnitude of veterans that were coming. So most veterans, like I'm one of them, got frustrated and gave up, walk away. I came back years later to go ahead and finish my degree, but that is one thing that happened. As far as the red line is concerned, real property. The GI Bill was supposed to be set up to be a springboard after the Great Depression to give veterans a standing leg in which to move into the middle class for white veterans. For us, it just did not happen. If you look at all the cookie cutter houses here, going down Government Road into Montrose Heights, whatever, those homes were built under the GI Bill. Well, we went to the bank to get the loans, to apply for the loans and so on and so forth, to try to purchase a home. That ability was just not available to us. Things didn't really start changing until post-Vietnam. And Keith, I can get along with it, but I'm gonna segue to you, come back to this, and we'll talk about the era and the differences between, say, the Civil War or the Revolutionary War up until World War II. And we'll go past World War II, we'll go even into Korea and Vietnam and pick up, say, in the post 9/11 era. And you'll see the dichotomy that I'm speaking of, the differences of day and night, of what happens, what has happened with this Veterans Readjustment Act, i.e. the GI Bill. And on that note, thank you for your attention, and I'll give it to my able-bodied assistant.
Thank you, James.
Yes, sir.
So, here we see Admiral Gravely, Samuel Gravely Jr. draft card. When Sam first went in the military, or he signed up for the military, he was denied service. The Army had this signage, join as a sergeant and become driver of heavy trucks and heavy machinery. Well, he took the physical for the United States Army, and they told him he had a heart murmur. So that didn't work out for Sam. So he came back a couple of years later, and he joined the United States Navy. But I want to set this up to let you know that Sam was born in June of 22. My mom was born in July 22, and so was his sister, Chrissy Gravely. Sam is a friend of my family. I've been knowing him since I was 8 years old. I knew him as Sammy. He wasn't an admiral yet. And every time he came home on leave, he would stop by our house and to see my mom and her other 4 sisters in the neighborhood. We lived 1 block apart. We all went to the same church, Rising Mount Zion Baptist Church. And these are his nephews, who were my best friends from JP3, maybe when we were about 8 years old. And their mother was Sam Gravely's baby sister, Betsy. And if you read that book, you will find out about his sister, Betsy. And so she became like my second mom. And her boys, which were 5, became my brothers. I ate at their house more times than I ate at my own house. It was a relationship such as that. It was also a relationship such as Sam's father, Sam Sr., who I affectionately called Granddaddy, because he was just like my granddaddy. And that's just trying to get you to understand the relationship of families from Fulton. At the same time, when he went into the United States Navy, he wasn't going in the Navy because he didn't want to be a cook. And he wasn't going to be a cook. And so at that point, they had changed over the rating, so African Americans could come in something as stevedores or cooks. And so he went in a rating, and they put him in a rating as a fireman. And he thought it would be rather easy. He went to A school at Hampton. And he found out that diesel machinist thing wasn't as easy as he thought it would be. And so you go on down through the years, he comes in and he goes out to San Diego after that. And he's on base, and he's stuck in these huts at the end, the western end of San Diego. For the African American, they have huts. Sam is 6'3" tall, and he could not go in the hut during the day, back and forth. And so he would have to stay out of the hut until it was time to go to sleep, because he would have to bend over to get in the hut. And so Sam was assigned, he had the choice between a mess cook or compartment cleaner. And before the other guy could speak, he said, "I clean compartments." Sam was held on not being anything that had to do with a cook. And if you know his dad, the way I knew his dad, in Fulton, in the book, it talks about the 10-cent story. Sam got off of the streetcar at Williamsburg Avenue and Louisiana Street at the druggist store. And Mr. Harrison, who was a really nice man that I met years later, but he asked Sam, did he want to make a dime? And Sam told him, yeah. And so he asked Sam to clean in front of the drugstore and sweep and clean it up for him. So Sam went home with the 10 cents. And then when his dad came home, he showed his dad that he had made 10 cents. And his dad, he said, "Sam, I just got off the same streetcar, and that corner looked mighty dirty to me." And so he took the 10 cents from Sam, took him back round to the drugstore, and his daddy swept the drug, the middle of the street, the side of the street, and he did that. Sam said it seemed like an hour. And from that day forward, that's where his drive came from, his work ethic came from, and that's who he came to be as a Vice Admiral in the United States Navy. He went through a lot of trials and tribulations. In Miami, he was arrested for impersonating an officer. Yeah. When he left on his first ship and they went to the Keys in Florida, they sent them to the ship a note that said, "We understand you have a black officer." Well, they didn't call him a black officer at that time. You know what they called him. And they said, "Just make sure he knows he can't come to the officers club." And these are the things that he went to and the hell that he went through. Imagine the African American that didn't have the fortitude to go through what he went through, or the strength to go through that. Imagine what happened to them as they fell by the waysides. But eventually Sam came in, he went into the V-12 program. He went to the USC at first, and then he took him out of USC and sent him to UCLA. He then went to Columbia University where 1,000 midshipmen graduated. Oh, I can't do both.
One back.
Go back?
Just one.
Okay, the V-12 program. And he graduated with 1,000 other midshipmen, and he was the only African American who graduated. As a matter of fact, he was the only African American who went to the V-12 program. Okay, so that's, I guess, some of the crew of the first ship he served aboard. Was one of the two ships, all African American complements in World War II, the USS Mason and the PC-1264, which was a submarine chaser. So Sam was the first officer to serve aboard a fighting ship. The only other officer, let me go back, to serve aboard a ship, his name was Robert Smalls. Robert Smalls had stole one of the CSS Planner, and they were getting ready to ship out, and he had dressed up like the captain. He had a pipe like the captain, had the long white coat, the hat. He knew how many whistles at one station to get past the Confederate guns, and he was able to take that ship and go across enemy lines. How did he do that? Because they said they thought he was too stupid to remember. Well, we go back to Sam. and so Sam came home, he went back to Virginia Union University, I guess he got his degree. But after the V-12 program and his graduation, he did finally get a ship. I think he first got the USS Owl, which you see here, pictured here, as a communications officer in 1950. He then got the Thomas E. Chandler. Now, his commander that was on the Owl assigned him to that ship. That was his first command, his command. But the irony of it was he got to serve on that ship because the ship was in dry docks for 2 years. So it could have been some stuff going on there. And later he did serve on the destroyer, the Falcon. Sam adopted his kids, Robbie and Dave. And who is that at the bottom? Mariel.
Tracy?
Oh, that's Tracy.
That's Tracy, yeah.
Okay, and Miss Amel. I had the opportunity to go where it was an opportunity. I went to her funeral on February the 3rd, a month or two ago. And I had met her when she was 100 years old at the Admiral's house, at their house in Haymarket, Virginia. And so I got in a wheelchair. She had a step to her home. I was with her nieces and had a step, and I couldn't get over the step. And so she came to the door and she said, "Hold my arm." She's 100 years old, man.
Wow.
And I'm like, "Lady, I'm gonna knock both of us down." She said, "Hold my arm." She said, "Now hop." And I did so, and that was in the house. And she was kind enough to let me use her walker, which was way down there. And we went in to the den, and she went over in her corner, and she got in her lounge chair, and then there was a coffee table, and then there was another lounge chair, and I'm standing there looking at it, and she said, "Boy, sit down." That was the Admiral's chair.
Oh.
And her and I, we talked for about 2.5 hours. Her niece and great niece, they were somewhere piddling around the rest of the house and down in the basement looking at his many awards. And so Sam went to the Tausig, and he knew that he had to be not an operations officer. He knew that he had to be an officer on destroyers, and he loved destroyers. And his wife would tell you, Sammy loved destroyers, and that's where he got his headway. And well, he went on to DLG, the Jewett, DLG. And in 1971, while serving on this boat, he got his flag rank in 1971. After his flag rank, he came to be, some of the stations in his flag rank was Desron 2, cruiser destroyer group out of Charleston, South Carolina. And they could have anywhere between 80 and 90 ships running from navies from Canada, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, and he was the man in tactical command and operational command and every other command. As you see him over there, that Sam is a Vice Admiral. In 76, he took over as commander of the 3rd Fleet. That's one of 4 fleets in the United States. The 3rd Fleet encompasses everything from the Eastern and Northern Pacific to the Bering Sea, to the Aleutian Islands, to the North Pole, and to the South Pole. That is 25% of the Earth's service. This man from Fulton was charged with protecting. And I'm here to tell you, they didn't bomb Pearl Harbor on his watch. because that was his station in Pearl Harbor. And so at any given time, you could see an armada. Any given time, he could summon a helicopter to take him anywhere to 100 ships in that sea. He could make submarines rise, nuclear submarines, 5 aircraft carrier, all nuclear, all under the command of a man from Fulton, from the ghetto, from the squalid living, from all of these adjectives that you want to call, a master of all masters in the United States Navy at a time that it wasn't possible. But as our old school teacher said, nothing good can come out of Fulton. Thank you. We good?
Oh, Keith, we got a couple more.
I got a couple more? Okay. And how the Admiral is remembered. A couple of years ago, 2013, I was traveling across the country. And me and my girlfriend bought a 40-foot Winnebago, and we towed our SUV behind it, and we were just traveling from east to west, all out west, everywhere in the west, from Seattle to Portland, Highway 1, Hertz Castle, just everywhere you can name. And we went to the U.S. Hour in 2013 to visit the Hour, and I go aboard the Hour, and the curator was a man named David May, and he handed me off to a man named Patrick Salazar, who was a director, assistant director of development. And Patrick and I were touring the ship. The battleship is huge, humongous. And they went into the quarters and he said, hey, this is Harry Truman's poker table. And we went down the ladder to the mess deck, and it was a picture of Dory Miller and a picture of another white sailor. And it dawned on me, he has no clue as to who the most famous sailor that ever sailed this boat. He doesn't have a clue. None of them have a clue. Do you know why they didn't have a clue? They were looking for the wrong color. That's why they couldn't find it. The nugget, the same thing that happened at Pearl Harbor. You may not like it, but it is our story. It took the United States Navy 6 days to report that Dory Miller is the man that shot down the 3 Japanese Zeros. And now they are building a $1.2 billion aircraft carrier named the USS Doris Miller. Every award that African Americans always get is always posthumously. Posthumously. The Tuskegee Airmen, posthumously. The men that landed at Normandy, posthumously. The women, you want me to hold that? So there's a thing. Am I here? This is the fleet.
Vice Admiral Samuel L. Gravely Jr. was a Navy surface warrior with a career of many firsts during a time of great racial change in the Navy. Shortly after enlisting in the Navy as a fireman apprentice during World War II, Vice Admiral Gravely was the first African American to participate in the V-12 commissioning program. He served aboard a segregated submarine chaser until the end of the war. In 1949, he was called back to active duty to be a recruiter for the newly desegregated Navy. After serving on multiple ships during the Korean War, he transferred to active duty permanently in 1954. Making history as he achieved different ranks, he became the first African American executive officer of a Navy ship, the destroyer USS Theodore E. Chandler, in 1960, and commanding officer on January 31, 1961. Selected as the first African-American Rear Admiral in 1971, he took command of Cruiser Destroyer Group 2 and eventually the entire Third Fleet. Vice Admiral Gravely finished his career as the director of the Defense Communication Agency and retired after a distinguished 38-year career. Vice Admiral Gravely died in 2004. The destroyer USS Gravely has been named in his honor. His wife Alma Gravely agrees with the decision.
He always wanted to become the skipper of the destroyer. That's why I'm happy that the Navy decided to build a destroyer for him, because I don't know he would be too pleased for any of the ship, whether it was bigger or smaller. He loved the destroyers. He loved to go to sea with them.
From the Defense Media Activity, I'm Petty Officer Amara Timberlake.
And by the way, while we were at Miss Gravely's funeral on February the 3rd, there were 8 Black Admirals in attendance. 8. And there were white Black Admirals and commanders and captains, and they carried, there are some of them there, that's Sinclair Harris on the left, and that was such a sight to see. At the same time this was going on, her funeral service was going on, it was at the same time the USS Gravely was engaged with the Houthis in the Red Sea. It was the USS Samuel L. Gravely who were shooting down the Houthis at the time of her funeral. But once again, I tell you, nothing good can come out of Fulton. Is that the end of me?
You got 2 more.
I got 2 more.
Yeah, that's fine. That, you wanna deal with that or JC?
Here, no, I'm gonna do it. You. Here, this guy, his name is Conley Monk. Here's another veteran that was shot and got a Purple Heart in Vietnam. His uncle was the famed musician, pianist, Thelonious Monk. And if you know about anything about Redskin football, he's the cousin of Art Monk. And yet he was denied his benefits for 50 years. So he sued the US government along with a team from Yale Law. They sued the US government under the Tort Act. And eventually he won his case. But before that, he amended his original suit to include the estate of his father, who had landed at Normandy and was denied his benefits. And he won the case. And of course, the tort, T-O-R-T, means you get about $2 or $3 from the government. But these are the things that African Americans who have put their lives on the line to serve this great nation. And the nation should be bigger than this. It really should be bigger than this for all of its people. Before, and be careful when you say the words ghetto, squalor, or other words, because you put us there. Thank you.
Keith, I have a question. What was Admiral Gravely's post-Navy career like?
Post-Navy?
Post-Navy, what did he do?
He worked for the Armed Forces Communication Agency. He was raising funds for ROTC members to give them, the young men, scholarships to go to school and become members of the United States Navy. But his last job in 1978 and 1980 was a job that was basically put on him for the director of the CIA, that Stansfield Turner, who he and Admiral Gravely were really good friends. His job as Defense Communication Agency, he connected Washington to DC with all of our military bases. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and those of our allies around the world. That was his last job as director of the Defense Communication Agency. Am I through?
There's a picture of you next, if you wanna talk about yourself.
That's embarrassing. I don't know what the hell I was thinking about then. Maybe I signed up for the wrong thing. I'm done.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Linda Aguster Sutton. What I want to tell y'all about Admiral Gravely is his moms always know what their children gonna grow up to be. So his mom already know, because in 1927, at 5 years old, this is Rising Mount Zion Baptist Church, the Sunday school class. It's kind of a picture that you really can't see them, but if you come up and look, it's an Earl. Out of all of them, Gravely is standing there in a sailor suit. So she already knew what her son was going to do with his life in his little sailor suit. Okay, so that's exciting to even know that at 5, he already knew what he was going to be wearing for the till he left this world. One thing about moms and grandmoms that they always tell you, whatever you do in life, never forget where you come from. Never forget where you was born and raised. So with that being said, when he was out at sea, going around the world, he used to write letters and send postcards back to his friends. Like Keith said, his aunts and all, they were all close friends. But it was one postcard that he sent back that I really liked, and it say, "Will you believe the South Pole? Oh well, what's next? The moon?" And he was trying to make it to the moon because the simple fact, Admiral Gravely was a great man. When he used to come home, and whenever he came home, he came to church. I was also a member of Rising Mount Zion Baptist Church, and being small, to see somebody in all white from head to toe, we used to just gather around him and just know he was our hero. At that time, we really didn't know what he was doing, but we knew that he was our hero because the simple fact, he's standing there in all white, and he used to be so friendly and treat all of us. So I'm standing up here feeling like a hero. I grew up, I got a chance to worship with him in church, and he was a great man. Over here, these are two of his nieces that Keith was talking about. This is Laverne, and this is Laurette. On different occasions, Laurette has went to the media. She has did interviews with the news. She has did stories, and the family would love so much that if a statue of him could have been put in Fulton. Back in 2011, they were talking about putting up a statue right here. It was talk of a statue going up somewhere on Williamsburg. We always thought by James River, it'd be nice to have him close to what he did, which was the water, and being at the James River. But Samuel L. Gravely, he opened the doors. He opened the doors for so many of us that's in color. From Keith, Marrell, even women started getting involved. Women wanted to get involved. We have women that came out of Historic Fulton that went into the military. First, I want to start off. Can everybody see that picture over there? That's Sheila. She went into the military. Over here, Lucretia, she was in the Army. Is that you, Maria? in the middle.
Yeah, that's him.
He
It's
got to be,
him.
okay.
Yeah.
How did I get in there?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was throwing everything in there, you know.
Here, this picture of Lieutenant James, her grandfather, the Reverend Daniel James, was the founder of Rising Mount Zion Baptist Church. And she served. And once she came out, she still served at St. Philip Hospital, doing great things. Over there on a wall, it's a wall of Admiral Howard, the first Afro-American woman that went into the Navy and stepped to the plate and did what she had to do as a woman. And I have to say, as a woman of color, she stood her grounds and handled it well. Now, I just have to tell y'all, when I read the story of these fine women, the 6 888s, all I could think about, thank you, Amber Gravely, for stepping up to the plate and made it possible that not only the young men could actually serve, but now you have women that's doing magnificent things. These women, actually, it was 65,000 pieces of mail that has not been able to get to those soldiers with packages. There's 6 888, 8 hours shift, 7 days a week. In 3 months, they made sure that everybody got their mail and got their package. Now, them some awesome women when you can sit there and do that, serving your country. Yeah. I still say thanks to our hero. And you know, I used to watch when they used to talk about him. It was hard for them to say, you know what they used to say? He was from Richmond, Virginia. Tell the truth. He was from Fulton. Don't just say Richmond, Virginia. Richmond, Virginia is a big place. He was from Fulton. Make it happen. So I'm letting y'all know, I'm proud to say he was from Fulton. He had a landmark where he used to live. In between of the house he used to live on Nicholson Street. Am I right, Keith? This man was from Fulton. Great people came out of Fulton, and he made the way for the military of our color to do it. When those ladies I read about, it used to be 6 of them. One just recently passed in February. But the 5 now, they are 102, 199. But let me tell you something, how long it takes, like Keith and James was saying. It took them 77 years to get recognized. Majority of them has left, but 5 of them did get the Congregational Medal, the gold medal. They finally got that medal. 77 years. So the moral to that story is, he do have a ship, that's fine. Wish he would get a statue, but if it took them 77 years, I don't know how long it's gonna take for Amber Gravy to get his statue. But I just want to thank y'all. I get so excited when I talk about the heroes that I grew up with. I'm sending it back over to you.
On that note, and the statue, just to reiterate, coasters are for sale. Fundraiser for that statue that we're looking for. And when you stand and fight for America, it's in Boston here, you're defending America that's not perfect, but it's better than any country I know. Vice Admiral Samuel Gravely Jr., first African American to command a U.S. Navy warship, first African American to attain U.S. Navy Admiral rank, and so on and so forth. And he's also my frat brother, so I had to get that plug in. I would be remiss of not mentioning some black units of notoriety all through the war. So I'm gonna run through them, and I won't get any specifics, but the 761st Tank Battalion, the first and original Black Panthers. They were commanded by General Patton during World War II when they cut a swath through France and Germany, chasing after Hitler. And speaking of that, I really want you guys to take a picture, go to the picture we have here. Liam, can you point it out?
Yeah, you talking about the, I got it,
Okay,
Yeah.
this is crazy. I want y'all to take a real good look at this here and up on the wall. See that black soldier that's standing in front of those captured German soldiers? He has look like a machete in his hand, in one hand, and a weapon in the other hand.
With no bullets.
And it's a standing joke amongst us. Look at the look on his face. Okay? We all agree that he's a cook. They just passed the mess tent and got him and said, stand in front of these crowds and take this picture. Not to be derogatory to anyone. But the more I looked at that picture and I got home, I'm like, wait a minute, we're missing something here. If you look all the way in the background, you will see a soldier there, an African-American soldier that's holding those German soldiers at bay. And I think they told us another lie when they said Hitler committed suicide. Look at that picture. There are two Hitlers in there. Really look at it closely and tell me that that's not Adolf. So I think that's something to say about the black units. I don't know whether that gentleman was a member of, say, the 761st Tank Battalion. Again, roll call. The 555th Smoke Jumpers. Keith, if you want to add something to that, you can. The Red Ball Express. They were awesome. They were awesome. Because Patton could not have defeated the Nazis in Germany in World War II if it would not been for the Red Ball Express. Those were the logistical trains, the supply and service soldiers that provided the beams, the bullet, the gas, the water, and everything else that keep that warfighting machine going to take down the Third Reich. Harlem Hellfighters, which was a New York unit, and they were National Guardsmen. They were in World War I. They were just as instrumental in bringing that war to a conclusion. The 320th Air Defense Artillery, Waverly B. Woods, he was there serving in that unit. The 452nd AA Air Artillery. The 368, which Linda just mentioned, 368 Postal Service. It's actually 368, but they belong to the 688 Central Postal Directory, all female battalion, African American battalion. So give homage to these people. They broke the ground. They set the standard for all of us to follow, whether we be African American or not. They set the standard. They were the vanguards, the spearhead. As someone so aptly said, we were Roosevelt's niggas, because that came after the fact, the Veterans Readjustment, or the Servicemen's Readjustment Act that came into play in 1944, which led to things such as, they used to call it back in the day, shell shock. Now they call it PTSD. How many veterans are walking or have passed that never got that just compensation and benefits that were suffering from that type of ailment? Others, Agent Orange exposure, especially from the Vietnam era veterans. Agent Orange exposure. And there are a lot of tricks in the tool bag of the VA that they use to deny veterans their just due, statutorily earned benefits. One, please, if you have any younger veterans, may not apply to them now because the eliminating date. It used to be, you got 10 years once from your date of discharge, 10 years to use your benefits or you lose them. Now that has changed and been extended based upon the most recent conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. But the GI Bill has evolved and its revolution is taking place because the guys and ladies that are coming out of the service now, free tuition fees completely, 100%. Even if you decide to go to graduate school, you get the Yellow Ribbon Program. And there's so many plethora of benefits. I would be here for 45 more minutes listing them all. But All I'm trying to demonstrate is the fact that we have evolved from where we were to where we are now. And I just want to thank you all again for your attention. And please take a look at all of the fine photos of representing all branches of service. The Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, we have Girl Scout cookies over here. Thank you.
Thank you.